is officially Thursday at 12 p.m. And every Thursday at 12 p.m. we have our great friends over at Arch. Arch is building something amazing, guys. They're actually building us a fast-paced moving chain on Bitcoin, and we're gonna let you finalize your transactions on Bitcoin. So it's gonna feel like you are on Bitcoin in a fast-paced environment. If you're someone like me who doesn't really care about the back end, you just want to trade your dog and then take the asset that you receive and then take that and put that in a yield bearing asset. That's what I want to do, right? I want to earn yield. I want the DeFi on Bitcoin, and Arch is going to be giving me that opportunity and so much more. I'm tired of the mempool, guys. I'm tired of waiting an hour to get my damn puppet. Arch is building something that'll allow me to have my puppet. I might have to wait for my Bitcoin wallet to catch up, but I'll be able to do potentially take that puppet and take a loan out on it way before it is ever in the mempool. So I'm excited to see what updates these guys have. They recently have done a snapshot, and we're going to talk all about that right now. So without further ado, let's bring up Nick. Nick, welcome to OnChain Revolution.
What's up, guys? What's good? Good seeing you. Shizzy, as ever, really sharp on the hype video. Love it, So, Yagobi, good to see you too, brother.
Likewise,
Yeah, man.
likewise.
I'm just spitting facts, bro. So,
Look, my job, I'm CMO, I'm Chief Marketing Officer for Arch, and my job is a lot easier because of the fact that's all true, So it's very easy. We can just spout some facts and we can do some fun stuff. So super excited to be here, and just like quick brief on what we're trying to do, right? We're extending Solana and putting it on Bitcoin, so having the ability to do fast, speedy trading and transactions, which is awesome. We're going to have a ton of developer flexibility, so the ability to create apps that are super native to Bitcoin, basically just on the Bitcoin base layer, and then also apps that are more ready for scaling, and to be able to do that in the same environment, so you don't have to go to different layers to do all that. And I'd also say the cool thing is that we're trying to save all UTXO assets, right? So runes, ordinals, and make it more productive and more programmable. So it's really a fun, exciting time at Arch, and we're super pumped to be a part of that.
Yeah, man. You guys, your slogan should be Arch Network making UTXO assets great again.
There we go. There we go.
So you guys have been, you guys, for the first quarter of this year, I feel like you guys, especially in the start, just really just grinding. And I know you guys are working every day still, but more of your builder community, making sure the test net's all set up for them, everything is smooth, all that type of stuff. And then now we're kind of at the end of March, right? About to start Q2. How do you feel like the progress has been, getting closer and closer to mainnet?
I think the progress has been great. Obviously, we have a really strong community of builders. I think the support from the Bitcoin community has been huge. We're starting to see more awareness in the Solana community as well of what we're doing, and getting excited about that. So, great progress. And I think two things are really coming out that are showing the excitement, or why people are so excited about this, is I think with Arch, what you're getting is you're getting the chance to come back to Bitcoin only with Arch, right? And what I mean by that is this: coming back to Bitcoin, the benefits of Bitcoin, the awareness of it, the trillion-dollar economy that Bitcoin has that no other chain comes close to. But you also, traditionally have just not had a real ecosystem be able to thrive on it. It's basically just been digital gold, and it's been unproductive. And I think what's really exciting, and what people are starting to see the vision of, is we have the chance to build on Bitcoin, to come back to it with all these native strengths, but then with all these new unlocks that Arch makes possible. So that's what we're talking about. And I think the other thing that's really exciting too, and if you guys check out our Discord now, one of the shifts that we're making, as we kind of move out of the testnet phase of the points program, or at least don't accentuate that as much, is we're actually creating what I think is going to be the best community by far for Rust developers. So if you're someone who loves building in Rust, or someone who's just really Rust curious, you've been dipping your toes in, you've been seeing what people have built. We have a no code environment increasingly emerging in the world, right? Where just ordinary people like you and me can just start practicing with dev tools. Well, we're going to be doing some really fun stuff to support the Rust building community and teaching them how they can build on Bitcoin. And it's going to be some node code competitions. It's going to be, or I guess, vibe coding, right? We're going to have some of that. And we also, if you look at our Discord now, we've really revamped the organization of it so that people can get really integrated as developers. So super excited about that.
Love it. Love it. I do truly feel like Arch has this opportunity to be the home base kind of for these Bitcoin assets with DeFi. And a lot of the builders that we've talked to from your builder community are, there's definitely like separations between. I feel like there's like 2 or 3 different like segments of the builders. One segment that gets me really excited is kind of like this TradFi focus of bridging, TradFi with crypto, right? Whether that's RWA, or trading the volatility of Bitcoin. TradFi people are familiar with that. So do you feel like that will ease in, TradFi to doing more DeFi stuff?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that what TradFi is looking for when it comes to Bitcoin is a safe place to earn yield. But what they're going to get in addition to that, and what's going to really, I guess, orange pill them in some ways, is the ability to do all these permissionless activities and have access to permissionless strategies around the world, right? So what does that mean? You start out just by storing your Bitcoin, earning some extra yield on it, but then you're like, wait a second, I can like borrow against my Bitcoin and have access to other things. That's like a DeFi function, right? I can actually have instant access to hedge fund type strategies and market making and yield strategies through that, exposure through that. Well, typically, if I was in the US, I would need like an investor license. If I'm someone who's not from the US, and I wouldn't have access to like, the same types of things that like a hedge fund or like a family office would have, right? So now you can just tap into it instantly with like some of these stablecoin strategies that are emerging, something like what Hamilton is doing with RWAs. That's going to be really interesting. So I see it as tons of institutional support already exists for just a way to earn some extra yield on your Bitcoin. But also, these institutions understand the value of being able to do loop strategies, to be able to tap into different yield strategies that, like, Morgan Stanley would produce for them or things like that, a BlackRock might produce. And to be able to like have that strategy be mimicked on chain, but with all the benefits of being on chain, I think it's just very clear that the opportunity is going to be huge.
Yeah, 100%. And I'm somebody who truly believes that RWA is probably going to be the biggest narrative of this cycle. I know AI is kind of the talk right now, but I think RWA, I mean, when this hits, when real world assets are being traded as NFTs in the Bitcoin ecosystem, it's going to be massive. It's going to be one of the biggest things that ever happened to crypto. And the fact that, you have a place like Hamilton that's actually kind of pushing it for Arch right now, that's pretty big. And that was really great to talk to them. I think it was last week or a week before.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, I was gonna
All right.
say, like,
Yeah.
the AI, real quick, the AI component of it, because I'm thinking about this crossover from TradFi, and I know a lot of our audience is probably like, TradFi, but you guys got to realize that they're coming, guys. I mean, like the summit that they had in New York last week, and they're doing stuff without letting us know about it. You got to go to their events too, and yeah, I imagine they'll utilize something like Hamilton or a platform similar, but get it automated on their side. They'll invest in like the automation from their side to manage their clients' stuff. You know what I mean? And we're gonna see systems that come into this that are gonna be robust, I think, and they're gonna, like, Arch is gonna be like infrastructure of what they use. They plug their systems into. I don't know. Do I seem too far off with that?
No, I think you're absolutely right. So it's like the benefits of Bitcoin, you have to have some sort of VM to process that on Bitcoin. So that's what Arch is, right? But one thing about these like family offices, these institutional capital investors, is they understand the games they have been playing in TradFi for a long time. They're still learning how to play in DeFi. And when you kind of get away from terms like RWA or, DEXs or all these things, and you just remind them like, all right, look, you have the opportunity to get instant exposure to the same kind of things you traditionally have been aware of, like real estate, like equities, like commodities, right? But now you're going to be able to do it in a way where you have instant liquidity with it too, where you can pull out that liquidity. With real estate traditionally, it's very complicated to do that sort of thing. You're in lockup periods. You can't just sell a real estate product, right? But the ability to have exposure to have that thing, and then to be able to pull out from it. And then in addition to that, so not just that liquidity value, but also being able to play with some of these DeFi things to get additional yield. So you were hoping to get maybe a 10% return on your real estate investments, and now you can get like a 12 or 13% pretty seamlessly and easily. Like, you have to start with what they know and basically just say, look, like, you don't know what it means when I'm investing in a token. Like, I don't know what the hell I'm doing if I'm investing in token. You know, let me just say, like, you're actually, like, especially with RWAs, you're actually just investing in real estate, and this token is just becoming your dashboard for that, or your representation of that. And in addition to that, you're going to be able to do some looping thing here if you want. You can do some extra yield thing. It's not going to be complicated. You just click this button and get extra yield, and that's essentially what you're doing, right? So you start with like what they know. Okay, traditional exposure, we're just making it more liquid for you. And the more we can do that on the RWA side, the better the messaging is going to be. And I think people are going to better understand the value ahead.
100%. I agree with that. And what they are familiar with is products. They just want to know like where they can make their teensy beansy, but large volume equals a lot at every level along the way. That's how banks work, right? Like when they offer the final user like a small percentage for savings, they're going to do that through this whole process, and it's going to be exciting. But yeah,
and they don't know how it works with the banks. They don't know, like, you know, they know what they're getting exposure to, right? But they don't know like what process the bank is using, or the back end, or if they're using AWS, you know, as their tech. So like the infrastructure thing is there. And the last thing I'd say is anyone who is in crypto and is really frustrated by TradFi being in here, I get it. And I think that we have to create ways that people still have access to DeFi that's truly decentralized and secure and not controlled by any one government. So like I absolutely hear all of that. But remember, like when you dreamed of building a permissionless blockchain for, you know, international currency exchange and all these other things that we've done, it had to, like, you had to know it was going to be permissionless, which means TradFi would have the option as well as anyone else to enter it, right? That's what it means to be permissionless. And so you can try to gatekeep with narratives, but the reality is like you can't keep anyone out. And so you have to, and this was always going to be the case. And so now you have to figure out, how do we work with this, and how do we make sure there's still ways to benefit from a DeFi perspective as well.
Yeah, and to your point, once they tokenize land in Wyoming, now we can take that NFT, because that's what it is, a non-fungible token, and take it to DeFi. And then we can take loans out on that stuff, right? Like at the end of the day, take what they build and just bring it to DeFi. This is the greatest thing ever, because we don't got to do it ourselves. And that NFT is licensed potentially and backed one-to-one with their paperwork, right? So that again, we're just going to take what they build and bring it to DeFi anyway. So yeah, it is what it is. But I'm going to jump into something else here. So I've had multiple people hit me up and send me your guy tweet here. So if you don't mind, I would love to jump into it. So this is the tweet from you guys. Attention, Archinauts, a snapshot is incoming. This is Q to stack points now. Don't get left behind. So could you kind of jump into what this tweet is explaining, and then kind of maybe add on to that as well?
Yeah. So what I'd say is this: we have done an amazing testnet campaign, thanks to all the amazing people in the Bitcoin community and other communities that have come and played on our testnet. And we're talking like 30 million plus transactions on FunkyBit and on their Meme Jam product since January, right? We're talking historic accomplishments with what Saturn's been able to do with AMM swaps on Bitcoin testnet, right? Never been done before. So that is all thanks to the great work that people have been doing. And so we wanted to acknowledge and celebrate that. And in our Discord, we held a town hall to celebrate that and talk about those accomplishments. And as we now move closer to mainnet and we're aiming toward getting ready for that, you know, we want people to also be able to focus their efforts a little more. So before, we were doing daily missions with, you know, you could do up to 100 transactions to earn points per day. And, you know, we saw a lot of people like bringing a lot of value by that and getting awareness of our apps. But at this point, we've had, you know, 370,000 wallets participate. Like, you know, people know the products now that are out there. And so we wanted to kind of move past just having a lot of activity and have it be more focused. And so what we're doing by this, and we always explained that there was going to be 4 phases and that this was the testnet phase. And for the record, like, our technology is still on testnet and we're not launching mainnet tomorrow. Like, there's a process. We're going through security audits, you know, there's still a timeline on that. But what we're doing is saying, let's take out some of this daily grind and daily transactions, because we're not here just to farm the community, but let's keep it more focused. So that means that we're at a point where, a lot of the testing activity and points that you can earn from that has been done. We will actually, and I realize there's some confusion about this, we will still have like occasional weekly missions. And the move for that is we're still enough away from mainnet where there are going to be apps that launch on testnet, and it will be valuable for like, them to get some users. But we're probably just going to launch like weekly missions to introduce our users to that, just as an idea, as a way for them to be aware when an app launches, right? And to be able to do something on it. But it won't be the daily type of missions that we've been doing. And so, yeah, it basically just means like, we were telling people that to like get their activity, make sure that they do all the things they want to do. And then we'll have a few more weekly missions kind of launched over the next few months before mainnet. But it'll be a little bit of a different type of points program until mainnet, and then we'll launch mainnet phase or points program phase 3.
Gotcha. So I guess my next question would be, so is the points reset now? My snapshot's done, I'm back to 0, or am I going to continually build my points?
You can continue to build your points. There will just be less of the daily activities to do them, and so you're not gonna. Yeah. So we don't want people to feel like they're. Yeah. So we don't want people to feel like they're getting way behind, essentially. And so there won't be a ton of activities to do, but people who are kind of like Easter eggs, like people will see, oh, there's a weekly mission. Okay, we can do it. But most weeks we probably won't have a ton of new ones. We may have a new one this coming week. Heads up, because of some of the stuff that's exciting and cooking with FunkyBit. But yeah, I would just say the snapshot. Snapshot was probably, to be honest, the wrong word for it, because we're still doing some testnet activities until mainnet, but it's going to be a lot less, and it's kind of like moving out of that phase.
Yeah. I think that was smart, actually, because what you do, like you said, is people that are interested in earning some of this possible airdrop in the future don't feel like they're going to get peanuts now. And it's kind of like, okay, people can kind of all participate and stuff like that. So I think that's really cool that you guys are doing that. Are there any updates or anything like that you could tell our audience right now that we haven't gone over yet, or do you feel like you've covered pretty much all of it?
Yeah, I mean, I think just going back to the fact that Arch really represents the best opportunity to come back to Bitcoin and to build the ecosystem that Bitcoin was always capable of. And with that in mind, we are launching, a new aspect of our Discord where we're going to be doing a lot of these cool vibe coding sessions. We're going to be doing, mentorship between Rust developers who are more experienced, as well as those who are just trying it for the first time. I think a lot of our efforts and motivation and the types of incentives we create are going to be more focused on supporting the Rust developer community in the Discord. So super excited about that. And by the way, we have like over 1,000 people with the developer tag in our Discord. So really tapping into that community. Yeah, having great builders work together. We have a form a team Discord too, where if you're looking to form, a team, a lot of times like marketing people or like traditional CEOs will be looking for developers to team up with. Like we're creating that. So, and actually I can even, like you guys can kind of see some of this real quickly. I'll just share screen.
Yeah. Well, you guys heard Nick just now. If you are a Rust developer and you're interested in building, or maybe not interested in building, but just want to be a part of the community to help out in what ways you can, make sure you join the Arch Network Discord and get plugged in there.
Yeah. So as you can tell, before we had the Archonauts campaign up front here. Now we've moved developers up to the top. We have a dev chat, a dev forum. You can ask questions, and there's a good way to message with each other. We have a Rust beginners chat for people who are just getting started. We're going to really be amping up our mentors. We've got to form a team. We'll be posting some resources in the learn section. We'll be playing around with some hackathon ideas. So really, really excited about these new unlocks, because if you look at it, the Rust community doesn't really have like great spaces to hang out and just share notes. And a lot of it is done on Twitter informally. We've got some really great Rust developers out there in the world. People like Lifo Fifo and so many others. You guys recently had Bunzi on, who's creating some great dev tooling for Bitcoin. So we want to really celebrate that and embrace that. And that's why we're creating this community where we're going to actually play active role in matchmaking and bringing people together to have these types of conversations. So super pumped about that. And yeah, look, this is your chance to come back to Bitcoin. And I'd say it's only possible with Arch, because you can do all these silo apps and try to build on your own, but this is the only way we can build an ecosystem on Bitcoin. So super excited to have everybody.
Awesome. Yeah, and I wouldn't be shocked if next year we look at the developer ecosystem count and Rust is challenging for that top spot. Because there's more and more people interested in SVM and being able to learn and build through that virtual machine. So it's gonna be interesting times for sure.
And the best part too is if you have a project on Solana, and let's just say you're not doing too well, try it on Arch, right? I mean, because all it really is at the end of the day is a copy and paste, because you guys are using potentially SVM type of thing there. So potentially just take that Rust code and bring it over to Arch, and potentially you guys can, instead of being the small fish in a big pond, you can be the big fish in a small pond and actually grow your community with people that love Bitcoin.
Dude, you nailed it. The opportunity is so massive on Bitcoin for really base Solana developers to come in and build with Arch, because it is a SVM type environment using native Rust, and we've converted it to be compatible with UTXOs. So just think of it as like building in the SVM, but now with UTXO management and the ability to build apps that can interact directly with Bitcoin on the base layer. And the world just opens up. Massive liquidity, of course, on Bitcoin. Super large interest in tapping into DeFi with institutional products and Bitcoin access there. So I really encourage all developers who have played around with Solana, have played around with Rust on Bitcoin. Maybe in the past it wasn't ready. Maybe you tried and you were like, God, this process just sucks. And so that's why Arch has essentially built that missing piece for Bitcoin. To actually allow developers to create fast apps that work together to unlock the trillions in native liquidity on Bitcoin. So super excited to have everybody, and we're building the best community for Rust developers and for SVM type builders to build on Bitcoin. So definitely welcome you with open arms.
Yep, and I think Brian might be a part of your team there. I'm not sure, but he says if you are a dev, make sure you add your GitHub to your Discord connections and go to the Git roles channel in the Discord server to onboard. So you heard it there. Just follow those instructions. Maybe we can put that in the description as well of today's video. But Nick, man, you're always a pleasure. I know you guys are running around like chickens with your heads cut off, but like you guys are doing, God's work here to save these layer one assets because we need to be able to do some stuff with them in a fun environment, and that's what you guys are building. But we appreciate your time, and can't wait to have you back on.
Awesome. Thanks, guys. Always appreciate you.
All right.
Thank you, sir. Absolutely amazing as always. Glad to have the guys from Arch on, and I think it's great for our community too, because like we bring you guys every single day potential airdrops, right? Like everyone we've had on this week was a potential airdrop for you guys. I mean, from Artura to Emblem Vault to BetBTC to so on and so on. There's so much opportunity in this space, guys, for you to get free money. So it's stupid not to try every single one of these products that are in testnet, because it is potentially game changing for you guys, and Arch is another one for you guys to keep paying attention to. And that's why we do these Arch Thursdays, right? Like that we do this to kind of make sure our audience is kind of being one of the first people that are in these communities and actually showing you guys how to do it. And it's really simple, and we're going to make videos on potentially how to get these airdrops as well.
Exactly. And